In today's video, we are going to talk about a man who went from living a simple life as a chimney sweep to becoming one of the most notorious and dangerous criminals in the Netherlands. His name was Kobus Lorsé, but he was also known by another name, Kobus the Gypsy. But Kobus's life wasn't one filled with fame and glory. Instead, it was a life of crime, violence, and greed that caused fear and destruction wherever he went. His story is a warning of how a simple man could get lost in the world of crime and never be able to find his way back. Kobus Lorsé wasn't always a gangster. He wasn't born into crime. In fact, when Kobus was young, he didn't want anything to do with the world of drugs or violence. He started his life in Rotterdam, where he worked as a chimney sweep. It wasn't an exciting job, but it was honest. He cleaned chimneys in people's homes and businesses, a job that wasn't easy but allowed him to make a living and support his family. For many years, this was his life. He wasn't rich, but he got by. Kobus had a wife, children, and he tried to be a good father. He worked hard, but his life, though simple, was a stable one. However, as time went on, Kobus began to feel that there was more to life than just cleaning chimneys. He wanted more money. He wanted more power. He wanted respect, something that being a chimney sweep couldn't provide. As Kobus worked in the streets of Rotterdam, he began to meet people who were involved in the criminal world. He began to associate with people who were into drug dealing and other illegal activities. The temptation of easy money and a life of luxury was too strong for Kobus to ignore. Little by little, he started getting deeper into the underworld. It wasn't an immediate change. At first, Kobus just made a few small deals. Maybe he helped some criminals move stolen goods or made a little extra money by doing shady jobs. But over time, the world of crime started to consume him. He began to work with drug traffickers. Kobus started smuggling cocaine, heroin, and hashish into the Netherlands. His business partners were criminals from all over the world, including South America, Africa, and other parts of Europe. As Kobus got more involved in drug smuggling, he started to realize how profitable the business was. He could make more money in one deal than he could working as a chimney sweep for an entire year. His ambition grew, and soon he wasn't just making small deals. He was running a large drug trafficking operation. This wasn't just about making money. It was about gaining power and respect. And the more power he gained, the more dangerous he became. Kobus quickly became one of the biggest drug lords in the Netherlands. He was known for his ruthless ways and for being able to make things happen. He could organize large drug shipments and smuggling operations, and he built an empire that stretched across several countries. His connections were vast, and he worked with dangerous criminals who supplied him with drugs from places like Colombia, Suriname, and Mexico. He didn't just deal with drugs. He was also involved in other illegal activities, like weapons trafficking. As Kobus's empire grew, so did his reputation. He became a feared name in the criminal world. People called him Kobus the Gypsy, and the name carried weight. He was known for being tough, for not showing mercy, and for being willing to do whatever it took to protect his business. The nickname wasn't just a title, it was a symbol of his power and ruthlessness. As Kobus's power grew, so did his violence. He wasn't just a drug dealer, he was a gangster who used fear and intimidation to control his empire. He was involved in the murders of people who betrayed him or got in his way. He wasn't afraid to take extreme measures to protect himself and his business. People who owed him money or who tried to cross him often ended up dead. Kobus didn't just control a drug empire. He controlled the lives of many people around him. He made deals with corrupt officials, criminals, and even businesses that helped him smuggle drugs. He had a reputation for getting what he wanted, and if someone didn't cooperate, they risked their lives. He didn't think twice about using violence to get what he needed. Former detectives who worked on Kobus's cases say he was a real gangster. One detective described him as ruthless. People in Rotterdam and beyond feared Kobus. He was a man who had the power to destroy lives, and he wasn't afraid to do it. To his enemies, Kobus was a monster, but to his family, he was something different. Despite his violent reputation, Kobus was also a family man. To his children and grandchildren, he was a loving father and grandfather. His eldest son, Bertus, said, "He was no angel, but to his children and grandchildren, he was a good man." Kobus loved his family, and he tried to take care of them, even though his criminal activities often put them in danger. However, his life as a gangster meant that his family had to live in constant fear. They knew that their father and grandfather was involved in dangerous work, and they understood the risks that came with it. Even though Kobus cared for his family, they were always aware that his life was full of violence and danger. The tension between his role as a loving family man and his violent actions in the criminal world created a complicated and often difficult situation for his loved ones. One of the most shocking events in Kobus's life was the murder of his son-in-law, John Wassink, in 2014. John Wassink was involved in Kobus's business, and some believe that his death was connected to a dispute over money and business dealings. John's body was found wrapped in a blue tarpaulin in the Mar Canal near Breda. He had been shot dead just a few days before. The murder of John Wassink sent shockwaves through the criminal world, but it also deeply affected Kobus's family. They couldn't believe that a man they knew and loved could be responsible for such a brutal act. However, the court found Kobus guilty of manslaughter in John's death, and he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Kobus denied being directly responsible for the murder, but the court didn't believe him. His involvement in the murder of his own family member raised questions about his loyalty and his ability to maintain control over his empire. This was a turning point in Kobus's life, a moment that showed how far he was willing to go to protect his interests, even if it meant killing someone close to him. After the murder conviction, Kobus was sent to prison. But even in prison, he didn't lose his influence. He was still a powerful figure, and many criminals feared him. He was also known for trying to escape from prison. In 2000, he went on a hunger strike to protest against the conditions in prison, and he managed to get some attention. He was even involved in a plan to escape with the help of a Serbian mafia boss. But the plan was foiled, and he remained behind bars. Despite the prison time, Kobus's criminal empire didn't disappear. He was still connected to the outside world, and he still had influence over his associates. But eventually, his health started to fail. Kobus had been suffering from lung cancer for years, and his condition became worse. In 2019, the courts decided to release Kobus from prison early due to his poor health. He was allowed to spend his final days at home with his family. Kobus's final years were spent in the De Kievit trailer park in Rotterdam, Beverwaard, the place where he had once lived with his family. This was where he would spend the last days of his life. Many people thought it was fitting that Kobus died at home, surrounded by his loved ones. After all, he had built his empire from the ground up, and he had spent much of his life making money from illegal activities. But for many, his death didn't bring closure. It just left behind a legacy of fear, violence, and crime. Kobus died at the age of 74. He had lived a full life, but it was a life filled with crime and destruction. Former detectives who worked on his case didn't mourn his passing. "He was a real gangster," said one detective. "He caused a lot of harm in this world." And while Kobus's family may have seen him as a good man, his criminal actions, his role in the drug trade, the murders, and the violence left a dark mark on his life. Kobus Lorsé's life is a complex one. He went from being a chimney sweep to becoming the leader of one of the largest and most dangerous drug gangs in the Netherlands. He was feared by criminals and law enforcement alike, but he was also a loving family man to his children and grandchildren. This duality, being both a gangster and a family man, made his story one of contradictions. Kobus's life is a warning about the destructive power of greed, violence, and ambition. It shows how someone who starts with nothing can become a powerful figure through crime. But it also shows the costs of that power. Kobus's life ended in the Reykjavik trailer park, but his criminal legacy will never be forgotten. What do you think about Kobus Lorsé's story? Do you believe he was a ruthless gangster who controlled everything? Or was he just a man who got lost in his own world of crime? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this true crime story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button. And make sure to subscribe to our channel for more true crime documentaries and stories. We have many more fascinating stories to share with you. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.